up, everybody? Happy Whoa, That's Good Wednesday. I hope you're having a great week, but per usual, it is about to get so much better because we have two incredible guests on the podcast. One is a two-time guest, but it is the other one's first time. First time as a couple. We have Adam and Bethany Dirks on the podcast. I'm so excited to have y'all on.
What's up? Thanks for having us. Stoked to be here. It's my first time.
Yes, Adam's first time, my second.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Sadie.
Yes, and I love what you just said right before I started the podcast. You were like, wait, can you make sure you introduce us as Adam and Bethany Dirks because people know you as Bethany Hamilton, but you got married. Y'all been married for how long now?
12 years now?
We're almost 12 years. In August.
Yeah. Bethany's like, I don't know.
So you've been a Dirks for a while now.
Yeah. So I took Adam's name on, but social media, I don't know. We just kept Hamilton, especially because I had the film Soul Surfer and book Soul Surfer, and it was just hard to unravel that.
Well, people actually asked me, like, before Christian and I got married, are you gonna, take his last name or not? Because I'm so known as a Robertson, and like our Robertson family is very known. But thankfully, people already called me Sadie Rob. That was kind of a nickname. So now I kind of go by Sadie Rob Huff. And it's funny because I don't mind, but I did want to take his last name. That was something I was always excited about in life, like getting married, new last name. And, when you meet your husband and you start doodling like Sadie Huff, like it was an exciting thing for me. And so I love that. I think it's really sweet. Well, we can't wait to get to know y'all as a couple. So Adam, tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Where are you from? And all the different fun things about your life before you met Bethany.
Right on. I think this always gets a crack up when we're around. People are like, see this beautiful Hawaiian Bethany. And then they're like, oh, Adam, where are you from? I was like, I'm from Kansas. It's like complete polar opposites of Kauai, beautiful weather. And then Kansas, you're like, okay, wow, that's in the middle of nowhere. So I grew up in a small town in Kansas. Didn't have waves. We had golden waves of wheat to play in.
A little different.
Yeah, a little different. I was thankful to grow up in a solid Christian family. My parents are Carol and Dwight. They're awesome. And I have 3 siblings. I'm in the smack dab middle of them all. And it's just been a journey ever since. It's always a journey growing up as a child, but having my siblings to kind of push me along, and also diving into like football and track and those things that kind of shape who you are.
Totally.
Then coming out to Kauai was its own story.
What led you to Kauai in the first place?
I was working at Kanakuk camps in Missouri.
Oh,
It's
cool.
a Christian sports camp, and one of this my counselor, my kid here in the camp was just barefoot, this funny like Hawaiian kid. And I had to carry him around because he's like, you're in Missouri, there's like spiders and thorns and poison ivy. So I'm like, come on, guy, you got to wear your shoes. Anyways,
we don't wear shoes growing up out here. So it's very it's a hard thing for children from Hawaii to put on shoes. It's an issue.
Yeah.
And so I know exactly what he's talking about. Like, I grew up barefoot. I'd never wore shoes unless I was playing soccer.
That's so funny. I actually have read studies that is good for you. So maybe y'all are stronger people.
It is super good.
It
I have really good foot development. If we want to nerd for a sec, like my feet are developed good, and I have a good arch, which affects your knees, hips, and spine.
It's something to consider. And you are pro surfer, so we may all should take that as a note.
100%.
So
anyways, I got to know this family from Kauai. And as I was going through college, senior year, this boy's dad from Kauai calls me up, like, hey, I want to start Young Life Ministry on Kauai. And I want you to like pray and consider coming out here to help me do an internship out here. And I was like, sign me up. Like, I'll pray about it, but count me in, man. That was like 2011, came out to Kauai and started Young Life Ministry on the island. And man, that's a while ago already.
That's so
crazy.
cool. That's
a
so
long
cool.
time
Yeah.
in Hawaii.
That is. So Bethany, y'all didn't know each other, and a lot of people do know your story, but for those who don't, or maybe don't know before the accident, like what was your life like?
Yeah, so I grew up born and raised here in Hawaii. My parents were kind of like surf hippies who everybody knows Hawaii is known for incredible surf. So my parents migrated out here in the early 70s, pursuing their love for surfing. And that's where they met each other. So they ended up raising, getting married and having my two older brothers and I. And so I grew up, learning to surf before I could walk. And
Wow.
I grew a passion for surfing very young. And then my parents also came to know Jesus in the early 70s as well. So they raised me to know God. And I believe I had a really beautiful childlike faith at a pretty young age. Like I can remember praying and just trusting that God had more for my life. And then when I lost my arm, though, that was just not at all what I envisioned my life looking like. But it's so amazing to see how God can take some of the most awful parts of our life and turn them into something beautiful and of purpose and worth. And yeah, eventually it went to writing my book, Soul Surfer, my movie, Soul Surfer, and I eventually became a motivational speaker. And now we have a program for families. And so we have our own podcast, and we met each other along the way. And
So
I also had a surfing career with one arm from 17 to 25, or technically
even
I
after
went
children.
on,
Wow.
17 till basically now I'm kind of phasing out of my surf career, but
wow.
I still surf at a very high level. I could,
you're up there
hold
with the
myself
best,
in a
for sure.
heat.
You're being humble. He's like, you're actually one of the best. So let me just
she's
throw
actually really good.
I've worked hard in between each baby to make sure I can still surf good, because my eldest our eldest is almost 10 years old. Like we've been parents for 10 years,
That's
which
wild.
is crazy. His birthday's
It's
in
been
June.
a good journey.
That is awesome.
I felt like crying the other day just thinking of that, just the season of going into motherhood and our first, and just that big leap of faith and the joy that came with it.
Wow. I love it. No, that's so beautiful. So tell me, how did y'all's stories collide? How did you guys meet?
I'd say coming out here to Kauai, I always was looking for, community, and there just wasn't very many people like our age coming out of college who are solid in their faith and solid in just who they were. And so I was searching for that, and
I just really want to share too how when you moved out here, he was thrown into the thick of ministry with young children in a kind of more rougher area of Hawaii. And he was doing the ministry. He was teaching. He joined in to kind of help coach sports.
Yeah.
To kind of get integrated into the community alongside of the Young Life ministry. He was very integrated in more of a Hawaiian culture, and some of the challenges in that area too is there is a lot of family hardship. And so a lot of the children are kind of struggling. So, just being a local from out here, I'm not Hawaiian blooded local, but born and raised out here. But I was whoa, the fact that he would go straight to the west side, everyone knows, I don't know.
You're like, that's all in.
Yeah. He really was quick to understand Hawaiian culture and the good sides, but also the challenges. And so I always knew, I thought I would marry someone from not Hawaii, but I also was gosh, it's such a different culture out here. I need someone that understands it and is willing to live out here, because I'm just such a surf mermaid that I didn't want to live anywhere else. And my whole family's out here.
I was a little slower to catching on to surf culture, because that's a whole nother ball game.
Yes.
And so we got set up on a blind date, pretty much. They gave me your number. Being from Kansas, I didn't really know anything about Soul Surfer. And that was already out. And thankfully,
Thankfully.
like, so it was cool. I had no predisposition of who this awesome lady was. And we went and met up at a beach and we just like clicked and hit it off. Well, for a good reason, because there was a 30-foot cliff jump at this beach called Shipwrecks, and it goes into the ocean. You know, and all of our friends had done it. I, being kind of new, had never done it before. I was like, guys, let's go jump the cliff. This is so sick. And only Bethany was like, I'll go with you. It's like, she was like, I'd never done it before. And I was like, whoa, cool.
At
Damn,
that
let's go.
point, was I 22 when we met, or 21?
22,
22,
23,
I think.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that I hadn't done that cliff jump, because it's something you kind of do growing up out here. Like if you
So
grow
you
up
do
on
all
the
the
island,
adventures,
it's like
yeah.
one of the big adventures, but it's actually pretty gnarly. If you fall, like our good friend actually broke his tailbone jumping
my
this
gosh.
cliff because it's
That's
super
pretty
high, and
gnarly.
if you just kind of like
Yeah.
fall wrong, it's not good.
So Bethany
my
goes
gosh.
and jumps it with me, and right away I'm like, all right, this chick is awesome. Like she loves to charge, and you know, and that was just kind of like the ultimate icebreaker.
It was the ultimate icebreaker.
Yeah.
And let me explain, when Adam was first walking up, I like see him and I was like, oh my gosh, he's like a gladiator, because he's really strong and like big. And I was just like, oh. But
Yeah.
the thing about you is like, you're also really warm and welcoming and nice.
Mm.
And like all of that
Thanks.
kind of hit me pretty quick.
I
Aw.
love that. That's so good. With another baby coming soon, sleep is quickly becoming a main priority. Soon I'll be up all night and doing the feedings and needing all the naps I can get, which is a good thing that my Helix mattress has my back. Literally, my Helix mattress has been such a game changer over the past 3 years, giving Christian and me the best sleep ever. And with Honey and Haven growing so fast, we definitely needed it. We took the super simple Helix sleep quiz and got matched with a Helix Midnight, which is not too firm, not too soft. It is perfect for side sleepers like us. We love our Helix so much. We even got one for Honey too. So when we're on the road, whether it's for work or vacation, we always look forward to coming home and getting back in our bed to sleep in our Helix. It's one of the things that we miss most when we're away. So if you're someone who struggles with back pain, stiffness, or muscle aches, Helix literally has your back. Nights spent tossing and turning while trying to get comfy are in the past now. And if you're nervous about buying a mattress online, don't be. Not only are you matched with a mattress that fits your personal sleep needs, but also Helix offers a 100-night trial so that you can be sure that it's the perfect mattress just for you. We love Helix. Obviously, just said it's been so perfect for us for side sleepers. They even consider that, which is great. But also, I think just the process of getting the mattress is so easy, because for me, I'd rather not go mattress shopping. I'd rather it come right to my door and unbox it, put it in my bed, which is so incredible. We've also recommended it to friends and family, and even gave a Helix mattress to one of our friends as a wedding gift, and they loved it. So go to helixsleep.com/Sadie for 20% off site-wide. Again, that's helixsleep.com/Sadie for 20% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Sadie.
Yeah, we started going on like not your typical like dinner and movie type of dates. You know, we were doing adventure dates where you're like bonding and having deeper conversations about the Lord and like where we are in our faith. And we just really hit it off. I think we were like 9 months in, like I asked her to marry me.
Wow.
It was pretty fast. But back to the surf culture thing, when we were dating, I didn't understand like how important the waves are to like a professional surfer.
Yes,
and
they're
like
very important. Like I don't like having a schedule because I need to schedule around the waves. Like the waves are only good so many days of the week or the year, and so having a schedule is like gives me anxiety.
That's like a true that you are a true surfer mermaid. You're like my schedule
my
is
heart
the
rate
way.
is probably going up right now thinking about having a schedule.
You can only schedule like 2 weeks in advance because it's a surf forecast is kind of like weather forecast. So
yeah, I've canceled podcast recordings because I'm like, I'm out. I gotta go.
Oh
Bye.
my gosh, that is so funny. You're a true surfer. I love it.
So when we're first dating, I also was traveling. I was competing and doing surf trips. And so as a surfer, I'm traveling the world. I had already been like all over the world for surfing. And so we're kind of like dating long distance, Zooming or Skyping or FaceTiming. And I go on this trip. First, I go to Japan because it was a year after Soul Surfer had released the movie. And I went to Japan for a little Japan release. So I'm with my best friend and we go to Japan. And then Japan's super close to Indonesia. So I hop over to Indonesia after to go on a surf trip because Indonesia's incredible waves. And the service and Wi-Fi is really bad there. So I didn't really get to talk to Adam too much.
It had been a while.
He had felt like I was like over him or something.
Yeah, I was like, where did she just like went misto on me? Anyway, she comes back, I know that like we're going somewhere and things are clicking really well. And I was like, so we live 3 hours apart on the island too. I'm on the west side. She's over on the north shore. And she's like, oh, this swell is hitting on the west side of the island. It's like the spot that only fires like once a year and it's world class. And I'm like, oh, cool. She's going to come west side. Let's hang out, And she just goes like, drives right by my house to go to this wave.
Oh my
and
gosh.
she goes straight to the surf and is like in the water all day long.
I
I'm
surfed like 7 hours that day and I didn't even like go to see him. And actually what's crazy is that swell, it was super memorable to me. Like,
it was insane.
11, 12 years later, I'm like, whoa, that was one of my best days ever out at that wave in particular. But Adam was so bummed and I didn't even realize that he was bummed because I'm on a high.
You're like, this is the best surf of my life.
Yeah. And it can sound like cold. Like, how could she just like go do that after not seeing Adam forever?
Like,
but
oh, wow.
Once you understand surf culture and like how crucial, like to score a wave like that only comes once a year, it's pretty monumental.
And I was like, we can hang out later at sunset.
Like, we'll hang out at sunset. Like it was fine. Yeah.
If you're like known as the soul surfer and then you meet you, that's what you want to hear. Like you want to hear that you're all in. Like it is not just something that is a book or a movie. Like you're in Japan, you're in Indonesia, you're coming back. You're like, sorry, Adam, love you, but have you seen? Like it's awesome. Yeah. It's so cool.
And I wanted to share another story about when we were dating too, because I made some sacrifices as well. There's this one wave on the west side of the island once again. And this wave is known for its like dirty brown water. And you just know there's sharks under there all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And Adam's like, hey, let's go night surf at this wave. And he's from Kansas, so he doesn't know anything about sharks. And
I didn't think of how bad, like it was my favorite spot to learn to surf.
He was learning to surf.
4th of July after the fireworks. I'm like, this would be cool. Let's go night surf.
And so he made me, well, I willingly went, of course, but it felt like, inside I was probably like really scared inside. And we went night surfing at this like, who knows if there's sharks? Like we all build things up in our head, but
looking back, I was like, oh my goodness, we really night surfed that spot.
Yeah, we
so
kept
sorry.
it short and sweet. I was like, okay, I'm good, hun. Not hun at that point, but
that is like so crazy to me and so impressive because I've, always grown up with like such a huge fear of sharks, like most people do. And then you're someone who actually lived through a shark attack and yet you surf for 7 hours a day. You surf all over the world. Like you go surfing with your family. You went night surfing at a place that you thought sharks might be, but you still did it. Like
she knew. She did it for me. I was like,
what is that? How do you get to the point?
For you, hun.
Like, how do you get fearless like that? How does that happen? Is that something natural to you or did it happen after the attack?
When I lost my arm, I was so scared or just devastated that I had lost surfing. Like the arm was almost like the less important thing in that point in my life. Like I was planning on being world champ, like best surfer in the world. And I had the talent and drive to do it. I had the family support. I was winning almost 90% of the events I entered in. Like it was definitely a force to be reckoned with in the surf realm. And so when I lost my arm, I thought I had lost all that, including this great passion that was way more than just competition. But then I got the hint of hope that maybe I can surf with one arm. And my friend had learned how to surf with one leg. And he was like, hey, I think you can surf with one arm. So then once I started surfing again and I figured out that I could do it, of course, I had to overcome my fear of sharks. And I think that passion and love for surfing was so big that it pushed me to face this fear over and over and over again. And I think there's something to be said about the simplicity of truly just facing your fears. Like if you're super shy, part of overcoming that shyness is facing your fears and challenging yourself to like say something to someone and keep trying until you have a good conversation. Yeah. And then over time, you do it over and over and over again. Eventually, you're going to be having a lot of amazing conversations with someone. And what once was a fear will then become something that it feels normal. Yeah. And you don't have to feel that way about it. And so for me, I faced that fear over and over again. At first, I did it with a lot of friends. I surfed when it was really busy. I tried to stay really busy out in the ocean too, like catching lots of waves. And over time, that fear dissolved. And it's just, I'm so grateful that I didn't let that fear hold me back because I've loved my life in the ocean.
I love that. I think that's so good and so true. And I love how you make it applicable to everyone. It's like whatever you're afraid of, don't just be bound by that fear. Like keep going at it, keep overcoming it. And over time, you gain confidence in it. And if you love something, like that love for something will actually press past that fear of it. Like I think about me speaking, like public speaking is people's biggest fear. They're like, I could never do that. But if you love God or love what you're talking about, then it overcomes that fear of, oh, people are watching, or, oh, this is a really big room, or whatever it is. And the more you do it, man, like the passion just comes out and it's so beautiful. So I love hearing that. If you've been following me for a while, then you know I try to be intentional about what comes to my health. It's not always easy, but it's worth it in the long run. Something that's important to our bodies is getting enough omega-3s, but most of us aren't getting the amount we need from our diets alone. Lucky for us, AG1 omega-3 provides over 2,000 milligrams of the most beneficial omega-3s in every serving. Plus, it's sustainably sourced from wild-caught fish. The hint of lemon in the formulation makes it easy to get all the omega-3s that you need without that fishy aftertaste that other brands have. AG1 omega-3 is a soft gel supplement that's meant to complement AG1 with a high quality omega-3 fish oil so you can get all of that fatty acid your body needs every single day. I've been a trusted partner with AG1 for a very long time because we love AG1. We've seen actual health benefits to our bodies soon after taking it, and we've also seen the longevity of it. My father-in-law has been taking AG1 for over a year now and has seen such a huge benefit to his health. So we're such a believer, and omega-3s are so important. I actually had a doctor tell me one time for my brain health to be taking omega-3. So this is a great place to get it. If you haven't tried AG1 yet, they're actually bundling it with their omega-3s for free. So it couldn't be a better time to start. It's something that we've actually been able to stay consistent with, and that is why we've been partnered with AG1 for so long. So subscribe today to get 1 month supply of AG omega-3 with your first AG1 order. You'll also get their welcome kit and 5 AG1 travel packs. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/woe to claim the special offer. That's drinkag1.com/woe. My mom and I were talking about this because we have a friend who became very well known from a really unfortunate situation. It was a very hard thing. He even lost friends in the accident that he was in. but yet that's how his platform formed and that's how he became known, And so it's interesting because it's like hard for him to get asked all the time about like the worst day of his life, but at the same time, he's like recognizing that, well, this is my platform, And so I guess like, how have you found the redemption in the fact that like, yeah, that's what kickstarted you being known, but now like you're doing all these absolutely incredible things alongside your husband, alongside your kids, your family, like you said, you have a podcast, you have the network, like all these different things you've done. Like, how did you press past like that one thing people knew about you? Like, was that hard to overcome?
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't really figure this out until more recently because I was reading a mothering book on parenting because I felt like I needed support and I had heard it from a friend of mine. She's like, check out this book. And in the book, it talked about children dealing with trauma and how if they face trauma, they need to talk about it. And it's really important to like relive that and face that but also in a safe environment. And I think because my story was so well known when it happened and my parents allowed me to like do interviews and go public about it, I talked a lot about it. And so the traumatic side, I think kind of dissolved. Like I really can think vividly about the day and I don't feel, really upset or highly emotional about it. Like, I think the way I worked through that trauma really helped me.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about my story is it's like it went super, super viral because I was kind of a well-known surfer in Hawaii. I had placed second in the national championships the summer before I lost my arm. So I was like kind of getting on the map in surfing and sports. And then, so when I lost my arm, it went super viral. And this is before social media virality was a big thing. And then I started surfing again less than a month later. And then I went like quadruple viral.
Girl.
Because people were in awe. And I didn't know anyone who surfed with one arm. And so most of the world didn't know anyone who surfed with one arm or, pursued life in that fashion. And so I think that's what really inspired people. And that's what really led people because they were like, hey, if you can get back on your board, I can get back on mine, whatever that may look like.
It's great.
And people really drew from my tenacity and drew from what God had done through my story of overcoming and really charging hard back into life. With all the challenge that I had faced. And so I hated being famous though. And I actually wrote my book because I thought, oh, I won't have to tell my story anymore. My like 15-year-old self thought.
I literally did the same thing at 15. Yeah. I wrote a book thinking if I just write it, then I will never have to say it. Like I don't have to get asked. That is so funny.
I went on a book tour and little did I know, book tours are so hard. Like I had to do probably 50 interviews on my book tour. And I was so mad and angry. And all I wanted to do was just go back home and go surfing. So truly, like surfing became my refuge and my place of like healing and peace.
Wow.
I mean, alongside of my faith, because I was doing it willingly because I did have a heart for other people. Like what's crazy is in my documentary Unstoppable, there's a scene where like someone interviewed me in my hospital bed. And there's this moment where I say, well, maybe God will be able to take my story and like be a light to other people. Like my 13-year-old self said that. Very raw, very real, very honest. And I did have a heart for other people at that point already. And I think that's part of my nature, but maybe also how my mom raised me. Like I really like how my mom on Christmas, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but she would buy a goat or a well for
like on Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah, like Samaritan's Purse or something like that, and provide like a community with clean water or, a goat where they can milk it for fresh milk. So more sustainable food options. And I just was raised to like look at the world around me and what need is there.
Yeah.
And so when I lost my arm, I was receiving letters from people all over the world and They were like, even from like inmates and young girls going through tough stuff, people of all different walks of life. It was crazy. And meanwhile, I just wanted to kind of like play with my friends and surf, but also I had that heart to like help people. And so we wrote
Finding
the book.
Balance.
Yeah, we found balance for sure.
It's so cool.
And I think that's what surfing was for me. It was like that balance of still being a teenager and just like, you know, I'd pick up my best friend and we'd go surf. And part of it kind of just happened. And I think the way I lived my life drew people in because they're like, I want to do that too. Like we all go through really hard times, like no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your life entails, like we're gonna face hardship. I love John 16:33. For in me you will have peace. In the world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. And Jesus promises that he has overcome the world on our behalf through his death on the cross for our sins. And then he overcomes all that. And it's this beautiful gift of grace that no one can take away. And that gift is what, you know, changes us from the inside out. And so
it's beautiful. It's so cool. I can relate to so much of your story. Like, I think I was 15 as well whenever I wrote my book, and you wrote Soul Surfer thinking, I won't have to, you know, tell my story. And then that becomes a movie. And my first book was called Live Original. And now that's my whole ministry. And like, we tried to hide behind this thing. And God's like, no, this is just the start, you know? And I think it's so cool though, because if God would have, you know how people say, if God would have showed you the whole picture, you would never even take a step. You'd be too scared. Like, it's just one step at a time, you know? It's one step. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Like, I'm going to light it one step at a time. And it's so cool to see where that path is taking you. And so much of, like you said, I had this heart at 13, and you see that heart through both of y'all. Y'all are aligned on that vision now, continuing to serve others, bless others, use your influence for good, and showing people what an amazing faith-based family looks like, and parenting. And it's like, it's so beautiful to see what God took with that heart. You know, the word says when it's talking about looking for the next king, when he was looking for David, when he's like, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And I think like that picture of what came out of your heart at 13, God knew like the type of person that you'd be, and then who you'd marry, and the family you'd have, and like the platform y'all would have. So it's just beautiful. I have to say, so whenever we announced on social media the other day, this is who we have on. We had Adam and Bethany Dirks coming on. Do y'all have any questions? We had so many questions, and not only questions, but people kept saying like, I love them. This is the most excited I've been for a Whoa, That's Good podcast. And I've been doing this podcast for 7 years. So that is saying something.
Aww,
people are like, we can't wait for this episode. So I want to make sure to honor the listeners who are so excited to have you on and ask some of their top questions. But a lot of people asked what y'all's experience was like together on The Amazing Race, which I didn't even know y'all did that. So first of all, I got to go watch that. But how fun or not fun? What was that even like?
Well, for anyone listening who hasn't seen it, if you want to check it out, we were on season 25.
Okay, I
that
am
was
going
like
back.
right after we got married, pretty much. Like, we did the casting, and I mean, you shared a little bit with us earlier about your casting experience on Dancing with the Stars. Like, the casting experience was gnarly.
Like they took us to LA for 4 days in a hotel room that we could not leave.
Hotel room. You got 1 hour of gym time and 1 hour of pool time. And the rest of the time you're stuck in it was hotel like, I think it's a technique they're using to try to get you to break down.
Are they videoing you? Or are they asking questions?
You had like an interview every day. And then they're just trying to break you down,
Are we allowed
I think.
to even be sharing all this?
No, there's no NDA. We're okay.
Okay.
But anyways, that's the beginning of the journey. Like, we about tapped out. We almost were like, this is crazy. We just got to go home and go surf. Like, why are we stuck in this hotel room?
At one point, they like take you to the cafe, and you're not allowed to talk to anyone in the cafe, but there's a few of the other casting teams that are trying out. And then you go to your interview later, and they're like, so what'd you think of the other teams and whatnot? And we were just Yeah, we almost didn't make the cut because we weren't drama enough.
Yeah,
They
you guys are
wanted
too
like
mellow.
high drama.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
"What was your latest fight?" And it was something about like our dog. I let like
Bethany
the
let
wet
the dogs
dog
in the house, and there's hair everywhere. And they're like, "Really? That's it?" They're like, yeah.
That's
Sorry.
so funny. Oh my gosh.
But it was an awesome experience. I feel like it was a testament to kind of, you know, the personality, but also the faith that God had given us, like exuding out into how we, you know, reacted with one another during like super stressful times, because you're getting these clues and you're going around the world and it's all very high stress.
Yeah, high stress. Like half the time you're hungry.
Yeah.
So, you know, hunger is going on. And you're just running hard. You haven't gotten good sleep. So there's a lot going against you that you don't really think about when you're watching the show. But like we started off in New York City and our first destination was St. Thomas in the
Virgin Islands.
And so straight into the ocean. So that was nice.
That's awesome.
It was a super fun adventure.
It was like the ultimate honeymoon, honestly. Like we got to see so much, but also
kind of a test of your relationship.
Test of our relationship right from the get-go.
Oh, totally.
And we did good.
Yeah,
we ended up getting
good.
Third. If you did,
don't
Spoiler alert.
We should have won.
We should have won.
We were so close.
Oh my gosh. Me and Christian always say this because I've gotten asked to be on Amazing Race. Like they've just sent like, hey, y'all should do it. And I'm like, no, we would be terrible on the show. Christian and I, it would test us so much. He is not a good traveler, and he will admit that if he was on this too. He gets so stressed. I don't get stressed traveling. I'm kind of like go with the flow. Like if we get delayed, it doesn't really bother me. I'm like, okay, I'll do something else. It bothers him so much. I'm like, we would do horrible on that show. But I'm also not the one that would like kick into the gear of like, let's figure it out. So then I'm like, who would do that? Like, what would we do? So I don't think you'll be seeing us on Amazing Grace. With the temps here in Louisiana starting to creep up and thermostats starting to inch down, it can be tough sometimes to find a comfortable balance for sleeping. Our quality of sleep makes a big difference in not only how we feel when we wake up, but also in our overall health. If you struggle with being too hot or too cold at night, you need to check out Miracle Made sheets. Miracle sheets are the only temperature-regulating, silver-infused, self-cleaning sheets out there. Plus, they're inspired by NASA tech, and it doesn't get any more legit than that. The silver-infused fabrics of Miracle sheets are designed to keep you at the perfect temp for your optimum sleep all night long, no matter what the weatherman says. Not only that, but the silver infused into Miracle sheets prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth so that you can stay fresher for up to 3 times longer. I am game for anything that will help me do less laundry and stay cool at night. So say goodbye to all that bacteria, meaning fewer breakouts, clogged pores, and less acne and allergies. Miracle wants to help you sleep cleaner. You'd think with all of those amazing benefits that Miracle sheets would be stiff, uncomfortable, or expensive, but the good news is that they are seriously so comfy and come at a price that won't break the bank. We love Miracle sheets. You actually do feel so cool whenever you get into them. Like they have such a cooling effect, and they also feel so fresh. So we just love them so much. So upgrade your sleep as the weather heats up. Go to trymiracle.com/woe to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40% off. And if you use our promo code WOE at checkout, you'll also get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll actually get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/woe and use the code WOE to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/woe to treat yourself today. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
Well, it's also with children you couldn't because you're gone. We were gone for 23 days on that. And
almost a month,
I wanted to share because your listeners are going to want to hear some other like juicy detail, but we get to the Shetland Islands. So we go from England. Adam and I won that leg. And then we take a train to the Shetland Islands in Scotland. And they lead us to this place where all of a sudden we have to herd sheep of all things.
Oh my God.
So first we did this challenge with little Shetland ponies. And Adam did most of the work. It was a very like physical task. That was challenging. But then we get to the sheep and we're having to herd this big corral of sheep.
Yeah. Was it like the sheepdogs, you know, they have to put them through the fences and then you put them in a gate?
Yeah.
But there's no sheepdogs. We were supposed to be the sheepdogs.
You are the sheepdog.
And it was so hard. Like we almost got eliminated that leg.
Yeah, we couldn't figure it out.
We could not figure it
oh
out.
gosh.
So you have to crouch down low like a little sheepdog.
And just go slow.
Oh,
and
he
go
was going
super
slow.
slow. And we were like kind of running around. They didn't really edit that one very good for us, I would say. But that was like such a hard challenge.
What an experience.
And overall, yeah, the race is very accurate. Like there's no, I don't know, people are like, oh, is that accurate? Like how they did it and everything you did. And like, yeah, everything's in there. Like
I feel like all the teams were portrayed really accurately. Like if they're spicy, they are spicy, like in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we
were newlyweds, so
teams.
we were kissing a lot on that.
Oh
one.
yeah,
like,
way
too much PDA
I'm,
on there.
I'm
like,
so embarrassed by our PDA because I'm like
so
not into
funny.
PDA personally.
We started trying to watch it with our boys, but I don't know, they're just not ready for that show yet. They like Tobias
Maybe
liked it, the older one.
Or almost
he was
10-year-old
like, yeah, I want to watch it. The other one's like, oh, this is boring. You know?
That is so funny.
That's not fun.
Oh my gosh. Well, it is really cute. Like the girls always want to watch Dancing with the Stars and because they like to see my dances. And then Honey is just hilarious. She just dances the whole way through. And it's funny because before... Like she just dances the whole time the show's on in the back. And before I even found out I was pregnant, Honey kept telling me like, Mommy, you have a baby in your tummy. You have a baby in your tummy. And I would be like, what? Like, this is so crazy because we weren't really planning on having a baby. So it was like such a surprise, but she had been saying it for like a month. But it was so funny because she kept telling me, and the baby's name is Joey. But I think it was because we were watching Dance with the Stars and Joey won this season. And so I think she thought he was cute. And he's like, oh yeah, you have a baby and his name is Joey. So she was right that we had a baby, but we are not naming this baby Joey. So we thought that was so
do you
funny.
all know if you're having a boy or
We
a girl?
do know, but we haven't told the world yet. So we're keeping it a secret. We're keeping it a secret. We actually, we're filming a new show right now. It's like Duck Dynasty, the revival, which is super exciting. But we filmed the gender reveal on the show. And so we're hoping to wait until the episode comes out, except for the fact that I'm like, I talk way too much. There is no chance that I make it this whole pregnancy without accidentally saying it on some podcast or interview or microphone.
Well, you're doing good.
Well, I'm doing good so far.
We actually waited till our children came out. Well, the first one we had to find out because I was like too nervous. I was like, we have to know what's going on.
I've always really wanted to wait. So we waited with our second three or the rest. So we have 4 children now. And our first 3 were boys, and
I
our
caught
4th,
every single one. It was like,
we
magical.
were like home birth hippies out here in Hawaii.
That's awesome.
And our 4th came out, and Adam's like, "It's a boy." And
it was a low lit room.
You just expected it to be a boy.
This moment of kind of sadness. Like I was like, okay, let's go, boy mom, all the way. 4 boys. Like this is what God's given me. It's gonna be so much fun. And I do love being a boy mom. But then
the midwife is like writing down, okay, 8 pounds, and did you say boy? And I was like, I replayed the image in my mind because like I would quickly put baby on mama's chest so she could start nursing and, blanket on top. And I was like, I replayed the birth in my mind. And I was like, wait a second. No. And I like peeked under the blanket. I was like, oh, it's a girl.
That's
like 5 minutes
exciting.
later. It's like,
Oh my
That was
gosh.
literally the most incredible surprise in my whole life.
Aw.
That moment when I thought I had 4 boys, and then all of a sudden it was like, actually, I made a mistake. That she's a
It was
girl.
She's like, are you serious?
So good. Oh my gosh,
was
that
this
would be the
very,
best surprise ever. This is sweet. Someone actually asked this question, and I thought it was really good. They asked, "How do you know God? How did you know God was in control of your life when it looked different than you had planned?" Well, obviously, they might be speaking to that one aspect of your life, but that goes for like everybody in life, like even with boy to girl, or you thought you were going to have a baby by now, or you thought you might be married by now, or like, you thought your life was going to look a certain way, and then something happens and it doesn't, or time goes on and it didn't happen yet. And so can y'all both speak a little bit? I know we're starting to get to the end, wrapping on time, but I thought that was such a great question. And since you just mentioned that brief moment of kind of like disappointment where you're like, I know it's going to be okay, and then you in that moment got the girl surprise. Speak to that a little bit.
We all know that like life can throw so much at us. From having accidents to having tragedy in the family, or there's so much that can happen in our lives where you're like, I wasn't planning on that. And it can derail you sometimes, or what you have to take hope in, what you stay on track. You need to stay anchored in Christ's love, and knowing that the truth of his word is for you and your life right here and in every situation. That we just got to stay anchored, and that's what really keeps you stable in these times of adversity, or times of like you have a certain plan or the way things should go in your mind, and you just got to hang on to the truth of the word, and know that his word for you is for today and tomorrow. The enemy also wants you to focus on the past and things that you've done wrong, or things that lies, and make you feel like guilt and shame about that. But the Lord says, my grace is for you right now. And no matter what's going on in your life, like, I'm here for you right now, and I'm going to be with you and hold your hand through everything. And even being anxious about the future, like, we can also have anxiety, and I feel like the enemy wants to try to cause us to stumble thinking about that. And so just encouraging and reminding ourselves that we need to stay rooted and grounded in God's word, and know that he's here for you right now.
I think we always want to latch on to having a purpose in our pain and struggle. And I feel like Adam and I have faced enough of hardship in life to know, like, feel kind of confidence in that. Like, even at times I didn't feel stable. I didn't feel secure. I didn't feel like my faith was super solid, but I had this overlying hope that God was in control. And even though things were uncomfortable and not perfect and really hard, I knew that that's ultimately what faith is, trusting that God has us where we're supposed to be, and he'll work in and through everything that we're going through to look to him to be the author and finisher of our faith. And we've had a really crazy season that we're kind of slowly coming out of, a lot of different trials and hardships and struggles and pains. And I haven't always acted how I want to. I haven't always done things how maybe I have ought to have done. And like Adam said, but my grace is sufficient for you. And God's continually like molding us and shaping us, and through our trials and tribulations, like, he's working in and through that so that we can look to him. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what I do, but it's about what he is doing. And I think that's why the world can get it so wrong, in that they don't understand that God is working even in the dark stuff, and he is in control at the end of the day. And while some of us have harder lives than others, he still wants to rescue us and be a part of our journey. And, I even brought up, like, we might not even see purpose in every single trial that we go through, but maybe the purpose is simply to just rely on God more, to trust in him more, and to let him do the work in our lives. And there may not be a very apparent outcome, because in my life, losing my arm, there is an apparent good that has come from it. But not every single trial that I've been through has had an apparent good come from it. But maybe the good has been simply that, like, I need you, God, and there's no other thing, person, like anything in this world that can support me more than God. And so just trusting that he is here for us. And we keep coming back to the theme of, like, when you know God's word, John 16:33, in me you will have peace. In the world you will have trouble. So the thought that you're not going to have hardship is a lie.
Yep.
But to know that God has overcome it, and it's through him that we can keep going.
Gosh, that's so good. Everything you said is so good. I love how you said, like, everything doesn't have to have like an apparent purpose, because I think sometimes, like, as believers, in order to make maybe things sound better, or it's like you want things to look better than they are, it's like you feel like you need to make it sound better, or attach something to it, but sometimes it just doesn't feel that way. Sometimes, like, yes, we know, like, in all things God is working together for the good of those who love him, yes, but at the same time, this doesn't look good, this doesn't feel good, this is not good right now, and so it's like, yes, that is true, because we trust God, we know he's sovereign, we know he's good, we know in the long run and in eternity, like, this world is not our home, so we know we're going to go through hard things. And so, yes, in the long run, it'll be good. It'll be okay. We'll be in heaven. But, like, right now, it is hard. And it's okay to sit in that. And it's okay to be honest about that and real about that. And day by day, things might get better. You might lift some of that load, lift some of that heart, lift some of that pain. And that's where kind of that faith comes in, the strength and the peace that surpasses understanding, joy that becomes a real strength, even when you don't feel happy. Like, those things activate in your faith walk. But it doesn't mean life's not hard. And I think it's so good. Everything y'all just said is so beautiful. So many people had so many questions about y'all's faith. And I think it's so beautiful. You just answered that so beautifully. And I love that people have questions about your faith, because your faith is the most evident thing about y'all's life. Like, y'all have done so many things. You've accomplished so much, but your faith is at the forefront of people's mind when they think of the two of you. And I think that's a beautiful testament to y'all's relationship. And so thank y'all so much for coming on the podcast as a couple. Thank you for the example you set to the world and your family, and sharing your family with the world. It's a gift. And I'm so grateful to get to know people like y'all. This was a blessing.
Thank you, Sadie. Glad to be here.
Tell Christian hi.
Oh, I will. I know. We got to get him in next time. Well, thank y'all so much.